It's International Women's Week, and of course, this will fall on March the 8th, which is on Friday. And we'll get to talk to different women from various sectors in Ndola. And this morning, I am joined by Cecilia Katongola, aka Mrs. Tutu, and aka Nampundu Special. I really love that one. Cecilia, good morning and welcome to this interview.
Thank you so much.
I am looking at this. You seem so young, so first thing I'll ask is, Nampundu Special?
Yes.
Where does the name come from?
I am married to one Kenneth Stutu.
Yes.
Father of all my 5 children.
5?
Yes, I have had 4 pregnancies, and one pregnancy gave us a set of twins, bringing the total number of children to 5.
Amazing.
Fantastic children. 5.
Amazing.
So Nampundu Special came as a name given to me by my father. When we knew that we were pregnant for twins, we decided to take a tour around and went to his mother, my husband's mother, and our parents, my parents, then, and Dad was alive then, and we said, look, we are expecting twins. Do we have any trace of twins in our families?
Yeah.
And apparently both sides, there were no traces of twins. And then my father just said, child, you are special.
Wow.
You are special. So my husband said, I will call you Nampundu Special. And Dad said, yeah, that's fine.
And so this basically starts a whole different generation of probably twins even in the future.
Yeah.
So you're pioneering that in the family.
Excitedly so. It's a
Now,
set of a boy and a girl.
Wow. Are they identical twins?
No, they are fraternal, boy and a girl.
Okay. So now I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, this is a Ngoma Awards nominee and a visual artist, and of course we've got all these pieces to look out for. What inspired your desire to be an artist?
My desire to be an artist, wow, that's a very big question for me. But I'll simplify it and say I began to respond to nature as it called onto me. I began to connect with art in a very diverse form. Artists are gifted differently. Others are realistic painters, sculptors, ceramists, and so on. So I am called a mixed media visual artist. And at the same time, I'm an art teacher. So I'm a fine artist because I teach academic art to children and learners and students. By the way, I'm a senior lecturer as well. I have taught and lectured at Kitwe College of Education. Yeah. So back to the question, the motivation for me and the inspiration begins from the fact that I'm a wife, I am a mother, and I'm a community servant, and I'm a Christian also. So in all of these spheres, inspiration comes with different energies, different callings, and I connect with it just like that.
How easy was it for you to get into the art industry? Let's start from inception, when you actually said, I'm actually going to do this, I'm actually going to study this.
Right. I laugh at the question because I think that it started at the stage when I began to breastfeed from my mother. Elizabeth has a lot of stories that she tells me. I call my mom Elizabeth, Queen Force One. So she says, you know, Cecilia, because I was her first daughter.
Wow.
And then there's my younger sister, Elizabeth, too. And they tell me, as I grew up, I was very, very intrigued with crayons and pencils and not much of paint brushes in the home because Dad was quite strict about keeping the home very tidy.
Of course.
And I'm this opposite person who wants to see the wall painted today as a parent.
You don't see a plain wall.
Actually, I need to talk to him when we get home in heaven and say, why were you refusing us to paint on the wall?
Yeah.
So Mom tells me whenever we would have visitors, at the end of their visit, I would just get a little paper and give it to them. Say, oh, here's a little paper. I was drawing and painting and coloring as you were seated there. And they would just be like, wow, did you do that?
Yeah.
You know, of course, there were schemas. Some of them were ugly drawings and what would term drawings that were not making sense.
Those were the Picassos of the children.
Exactly. Yeah. So I pretty much began to practice on being an artist when I was very young. Mom tells me that. And like I said, art is in diverse forms. Your decision to say, I'm going to wear this kind of lipstick today. Your decision to say, I will wear this kind of a top on this skirt or trousers today is an art. If you decide to wear a pair of socks that has blue and green on the other side, that's an art.
Like someone I know today.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So each time I would do such things, I didn't know that I was developing a skill, and I was beginning to discover who I was. By the way, my teachers in primary school also gave a report one time and said, Cecilia does very nice drawings in her books.
Yeah.
You know, during the social studies, you're doing the little drawings and whatnot. So one time my teacher again told my mother, your daughter is very, very alert to nature. Because when she's knocking off from school, my teacher, by the way, was Mrs. Magubwi. She's still very much alive in Mufulira. At Pamosi Girls, no, it was Pamosi Primary School then.
Have you had chance to interact with her in the most recent years?
Yes, even as late as last year, 2023 December, I think we met, and this year as well.
Amazing.
So she tells my mom, Cecilia picks flowers on her way off as she leaves school every day.
Oh, amazing.
And I would go into the playing field and pick little dry flowers and say, teacher, this is for you until tomorrow, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And so this began at a very tender age, and we would move on just like that, you know. So I got to secondary school, and one Mr. James Chishimbe, Mr. James Chishimbe was head of department for expressive arts at Mufulira Secondary School in the year 2001. And we were on an exchange program, and we visited Ansford Community School in southeast of England, in Somerset. And that community school had an exchange program with Mufulira Secondary School. So I was team leader for that cohort that went in that particular year. So 2001, we were in UK for a 3 weeks visit, and we would interact with the locals of the community, doing different art activities and cultural exchange program activities related, you know. So one time we went to a kindergarten school, and I was, I think, the eldest in terms of age in the team, and that automatically sort of gave me a lead position, as I've said already. So in this kindergarten school we went to, the children were excited, and we were given an opportunity to teach them how we play with, or how we mold clay pieces. In a layman's language, I would not say ceramic pieces, or molded pieces out of clay. And they had play mode, okay? And we taught them how to make clay pots, traditional Zambian African clay pots, and axes, you know, the wood axe, and hoys out of play mode. And the children were ecstatic. The teacher said, this is very good. And my art teacher then, by the way, I'll mention that when I was in secondary school, I never thought I would take on art and design as a subject of interest. And then my teacher, Mr. James Chishimbe, who was also delegation leader together with Mrs. Bole Malambo, who is now Debs somewhere on the Copper Belt. And these were our team leaders. And then they said, Cecilia, as you are teaching the young children, remember to remain very Zambian. I will mention also that we went in African braids, the long box braids. And when we got there, they were saying, we would like to see your African hair so that we could have the texture of you on it. And the children, as we were teaching this, they were all over in our hairs, touching and saying, oh, this is so nice. So at that point, I began to connect a lot of things. You know, I've talked about my secondary school where I was not taking art. And my teacher, Mr. Chishimbe, who was head of department, was never teaching my class because I was in a pure science class. And by the way, I was head girl for Mufulira Secondary School, 2002, and completed like that. My class never had art. It was pure sciences, additional math, and other subjects. So he says, Cecilia, because of our experience together in the UK, I think I know what to do with your ability to respond to art. And I said, well, yeah. And he was a very respected teacher by my family as well. So I spoke to my father about it. And he says, look, I know James, he's a very good art teacher, and the school has given us very good results. My dad was chairperson for the PTA in the school. So the teacher began to give me private lessons. When I would knock off, I would go for my lessons. I would knock off, and you know what happened at the end of grade 12? Art and design is the first distinction that I have on my grade 12 certificate. The rest are merits and credits.
Wow.
I don't quite mind about the rest,
Yeah.
but the art. And then Dad began saying, let's reflect a little bit. That's after grade 12 now, when my results were out. He says, you've got your distinction in art. What do you want to do with it? I said, I think I want to go for nursing. I had already applied for nursing. My mom's a retired midwife nurse, by the way. And he says, okay, we'll do what your heart desires. And then the following year, I got married. And my husband was very supportive because I
That
knew
was
him
at a
quite
young
early.
age,
Yes,
yeah.
I married when I was very young to a very responsible man. Yeah. And my husband says, I think let's go the art way. I have seen you have a lot of energy because even just home interior decorations, you know, it was a young marriage and very few house ornaments, but just the way I would settle the few things in my
Yeah.
home. My husband says, look, after our first child, you are going to go for your diploma course in art teaching, and I'm going to support you. And the man was there from year 1 to year 3 at Evelyn Horn College, and I went for my art. Acceptance letter from Mwami for nursing remained on the dining table in my home, and I went for art. Left our son at 9 months and 2 weeks, and I only came back after 3 years and 8 months. Of course, I would come home for visits and holiday closures and industrial attachment. Went back to Mufulira Secondary School as a teacher on industrial attachment, and again I found my teacher, Mr. Chishimbe. Mr. Chishimbe was very supportive and made sure that I got a very good result after the attachment. Fast forward, I finished the diploma course in art teaching at Evelyn Horn College in 2007 and graduated with a merit.
Oh.
Yeah. I was deployed by the government in 2009, and my first appointment was at Iposukilo Secondary School in Mufulira. So Mufulira is a hub for me, is home, is everything. Yeah, my mom tells me, your umbilical cord is here, young lady, so that's home for me.
And apparently I've come to discover that Mufulira has actually got so many creatives. It's not
Yes.
just in terms of art, but I love sports, and you get to find that most of our stars
They emerge from there.
They emerge from Mufulira, so it's quite important that you mentioned that. Now let's talk about how important it was for you to actually have your family support during all this, and especially that you're in a creative art industry, very different from I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. How important was their support?
I think you've heard me, excuse me, you've heard me delve a lot into family life. There's a serious connection between my families, and when I say families, I mean support from my own family and my husband's family and his support as a husband. Family is everything. Family is everything, and everything that we do, be it your in-laws or your immediate family members or extended family members. So for me, as you've heard, Dad and Mom and my siblings were very supportive from the word go. Even my older brothers, they would taunt me and say, she loves if you panga, and you know, they would just bully me and say, yeah, panga kwefi, mwacha solenge kwefi, come and paint this, hey, Tattoo, come and do this. My other name is Tapio, so they would go, Tattoo, come and do this, you know. So family being very supportive for me has been number one. I finished the diploma course. Family was there. My late elder sister Brenda Katongola, rest her soul, would make visits to my school. My older brother Bamwape in Lusaka and his wife Sekwa would make visits to my school just to make sure I was comfortable. So diploma ended in 2007. Family was still supportive. And they said, we are not yet satisfied that you're done with your art. Because they began to see how I was attaching art to my interior and exterior designer. I'm able to decorate for any function. Interior decor for a wedding, for a party, for a funeral, and whatever. I can do interior and exterior decorations. So I began to attach art in that direction. But then something in me was still not yet very satisfied. Remember, I've said a teacher is a fine artist because you teach academic art to children and your learners. So my family began to say, look, you need to upgrade yourself. And as it were in the education system, you know, it's important to elevate our skills and make sure that we are equal to what the world is bringing to us. Art is dynamic. So I said, okay, fine. So I applied to Zambian Open University. And there, under the tutelage of William Walia Mr. Miko, that's a fantastic man Zambia has ever owned. He must be honored and he must be recognized for a regime and a revolution he is calling changing the narratives of Zambia through correcting the national anomalies. Now I'm answering your question. Where we thought that art was for a specific group of people and art must not be talked about by a certain group of people. So right now, I belong to a revolutionary group of women artists. Understand that. A revolutionary group of women African artists who are in the journey to help our forthcoming, upcoming, and current artists to realize that art is everything. That's a very strong statement I'm making.
It is.
With all my passion from the
It
bottom
is.
of my heart. You can feel
Art
it,
is
yeah?
everything.
Everything. For the studio managers to arrange our set right now.
Yes.
The decisions that we'll make every day in the morning, everything
Yes.
is art.
Yes.
So I did my degree course at the Zambian Open University between 2011 to 2014. And I graduated in 2015 as the most outstanding student
Wow. Amazing.
of Zambian Open University 2015 graduation. I got an award from the Lechwe Trust Art, led by Mrs. Cynthia Zokas, the wife to our late politician, Mr. Zokas. So Cynthia Zokas is a renowned artist and painter, and she's the chairperson for Lechwe Trust. And Mr. Miko is her vice chairperson for the trust. That's a charitable organization. So I got an award from the trust, very prestigious award. I won't tell you how much they gave me in check, but I also got a plaque. I know, right? So I was an awardee of that particular year. And that's when the Cecilia in me woke up and said, shall I go the interior design way or shall I go the visual arts way? While taking care of those in my charge like this. Everybody who is learning from me is safe. I have never given anybody a very low mark at the end of grade 12, at the end of grade 9 for art. And I have taught art from 2009, since I was deployed, up to now.
Wow.
So I got transferred from Muflira to join my husband, who works in Ndola. And the first school I was attached to was Temweni Secondary School in Chifubu. And then I was transferred to Kansenshi Secondary School as a teacher. And then I got transferred to Kansenshi Combined to go and open a department of expressive arts. And then I got seconded in the year 2020. I was exhibiting artwork, just trying to explore, let me find myself. What can I do in this field? I want to be meaningful to both my academic learners and my visual arts community. So these two, I was holding in my hands. I said, I'm a teacher, but what can I do to get this visual art to become meaningful, So I was exhibiting at this entrepreneurship gala at Copperbelt University Hall. And then our permanent secretary, Mr. Jobix Kalumba, was guest of honor. So in the midst of, where the PS is, all of his subordinates are there. The PEO of education, then Mr. Felix Ngoma, and the Debs Ndola, then who was Mr. Chilufia. And my head teacher was there, Mrs. Chisala Mebo, because I was a teacher at Kansenshi Combined School in 2020, in 2019, December, specific to mention that date. And so it was a Sunday, 31st December, and I was exhibiting. And Mr. Kalumba, in his entourage, there were so many artists who were exhibiting. So he makes a stop at my stand and he says, who's the artist behind the work? Because I'm so small. And he said, and I'm here, sir. Madam, come here, come here, come here, come here. And the man just holds his head and says, oh my God, did you do this work, Cecilia? And I'm like, yes. And he says, Pio, where are you? Pio was there. Pio, call your Debs. Debs, where are you? And everybody begins to, we fall to instruction as teachers. And everybody's there at his command. And the PS just says, PS, you see this work? You see the artist? Yes. I want to see this female artist in a college by tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And PO says, where are the college principals? And by then we had Dr. Mutobo and other college principals who were present. And Dr. Mutobo says, I will take her on. I got employment in a twinkling of an eye on secondment because of what PS was able to see. And so I got into college as a senior lecturer. It was a Sunday on the last day of 2019. By Tuesday in 2020, without even knowing what's happening, I have a letter in my hands and it's saying you're going as a lecturer, a senior lecturer. So then it began to dawn to say, I think visual art is very powerful.
It is.
I didn't have to say anything. The work was speaking on my behalf. And I was behind the paintings, by the way, trying to repair an easel that had broken down because of movement. Then he says, where's the artist? So that was, I think, the major turnaround for me. And I said, how am I going to be more meaningful as a teacher of art and as a visual artist? I've got to make a serious impact. So for me as a female artist, I will go back to the question. I am calling myself an emerging contemporary mixed media visual artist. That is how I would answer the question.
You know, I'm hearing your story and I'm in awe. And also, you know, when they actually say that God can actually change your life
In
like
a twinkling.
that, because 1 minute you're there saying, okay, and it was an act of faith. You just go in there and say, let me just display my work, not knowing exactly what he had planned for you at that point.
Yes.
You've mentioned so many people as you were talking, but I would like to know who your mentors have been through this journey till now.
I have quite a number of mentors. The first one is my husband. Kenneth is everything. He will wake up with me and say, this proportion is wrong in this drawing or painting. So he's my number one inspiration and critique artist. And
that's actually very important for every artist.
Oh, yes.
A safe place where you can actually receive criticism, because
honest criticism.
Honest criticism, you know, it's not meant to dim your light or dim your shine, but it's actually meant to improve you.
That's about my husband. He's been there. He's watched my pseudo art. He's watched the art evolve. And we are getting there. So I'm calling myself an emerging artist because I have not yet had a solo exhibition. In my journey from 2015, when I graduated as the most outstanding student, art student from Open University, I chose to begin working with certain artists. I have found my comfort zone in traditional art. I mentioned that I'm a Christian. I love to sing. I love to sing a lot. I'm a singer in the Adventist faith. And I love musical art. So in studio today, I decided to bring musical art. And each of the pieces have an explanation. Why have I talked about the pieces in studio? There are specific people who have worked with me for specific artworks. So in my learning period, I have held traditional art because I'm an emerging artist who believes, I'm an emerging artist who believes in cultural preservation of our Zambian heritage.
Which is quite important, because when you look at the world today with globalization, it's very difficult, it's very easy for you to actually get swamped into the global sector and forget exactly where it is that you're actually coming from as people. And I think there's actually need for us to preserve this culture, because sometimes we might look at it as fiakale, but it's actually quite attractive to the people out there. Most people that actually win awards in different types of arts, even music, it's because of where they're coming from and the originalization of exactly what it is that they put out there. We were talking about your mentors. Mention a few.
I believe in originality as well, just to finish the sentence that you ended with. So remaining authentic. Remaining traditional and, of course, not dogmatic. We've got to be dynamic. So I'm a contemporary, emerging, mixed media visual artist. I want to bridge the past to the future and be the ladder in between. Now, who's going to be the future? I am going to be the transporter of the upcoming artists. And I keep pointing at the back because I have children. And my children will have their children. and the current children in our generation are going to be adults one day. I'm 40 this time of my life, turning 41 this October. And I am calling this period a born-again period for me.
Yeah.
And I have worked with different people for different kinds of art. So in my trying to preserve Zambian art and showcasing it as originally as it should be shown to the people, there are serious mentors out there. The first one is my personal critique and analyst, my husband, and family. The other one that goes, you wake me up in the middle of the night and I'll just mention their name, is Mrs. Agnes Yombwe.
Yeah.
Mrs. Agnes Buya Yombwe is co-director to her husband, Mr. Lawrence Yombwe. They own a studio and they do residencies for artists in Livingston. It's a family of artists, husband and wife. That couple are my mentors, especially Mrs. Agnes Yombwe. I'll mention that I'm 2023 Ngoma Awards nominee for the most outstanding female artist category.
Applause, applause, applause.
I'm much obliged. Now, Mrs. Yombwe was the winner of that award, and I was her first runners-up. So we are happy that that trophy is actually in our household of artists.
It is.
So Mrs. Yombwe is my immediate mentor. For even during my university and college days, I would refer to her literature because I am a cohort of what she believes in cultural preservation and so on. And I will tell you that she has helped to coin some of my attributes in most of my work. Mixed media, because I use different things. I can use anything. Piece of fabric, I can use sand, I can use sawdust, I can use sisal. And my favorite is chitenge, which is an icon and a trademark in all of my work. So Mrs. Yombwe is my professional advisor and mentor to my work. Lately, I have fallen in love with Miss Mlenga Kapwepwe, who will sit with me on the side and say, Cecilia, you've got to evolve like this and do this and that in order to get your art known. And I also have one of my favorites is Mr. William Wadiamiko, who makes sure that when I'm speaking art, I should use the art jargon.
Of course.
The trajectories of correcting the national anomaly, of failing to speak art should come to an end. You know, so the paradigms that I speak with are mostly guided by Mr. William Miko. There's also great people I've met. I've met Shiba Zekezeke. I've also met Marita Banda, Yande Yombwe, and I've met Linda Banda, Sarah Chule. I've met Nazia Alu, and quite a lot of people. And my friends also are very supportive of the art. So it depends what sort of season I'm in. So like this season is an end of musical art pieces because I exhibited at different musical concerts last year. So these are remainders from there. And the titles of these works are very interesting. The one right behind you is Kagelo. There's a musical discussion going on with her musical lover in the congregation. My husband is a musician too.
Amazing.
Yes. And the one right next to us is Bakashibandi.
It's my favorite.
So she's playing some music which has a language that only her lover can understand.
Wow.
I don't know what sort of dance she's closing her eyes for a purpose. It's going down, you know.
Yeah, it is.
The one behind me is called Baseline. It's a repeat work, and I love it. It's an order, actually. I've met great people like Naomi Mpamba. Naomi is the owner of the piece of work behind me, and it's beautiful. I'm grateful to everybody that supports Cecil's art. I go by Cecil's art on Facebook and Nampondu Special on YouTube. I capture quite a number of stuff as I'm working. So I have a lot of people are mentors. Yeah.
How important is it for not just young people, but generally anyone who actually wants to develop in a particular field to have mentors?
I'll speak to the women especially this year because every woman is a teacher, whether they have their own biological children or not. At every sphere of our interaction with the community, we are mentors. As a wife, as a mother, as a teacher, we are naturally teachers everywhere we're found at. So the importance of mentoring somebody is like waking somebody up from their sleep. Hey, wake up. And you wake up what I call the ghost in them. And it sort of comes alive. because of your motivation to them. And now I want to speak to the women who are in power, the politicians, the religious leaders,
Yes.
and the educational and academic leaders who are teachers, female teachers. Ladies, we have a mantle to take ahead. We have a very serious mantle to take ahead. If I do not motivate the ladies on my team, because I'll tell you again, I'm head of expressive arts at Kansenshi Secondary School. I was recalled from the college as senior lecturer. I'm now heading a department at Kansenshi. I have women on my team. If I don't motivate them today, what if I'm transferred tomorrow?
Yes.
Or what if they move on to their next station? What will they remember me for? So I've got to mentor and motivate them and encourage them and support.
Yes.
If I am able to get what they need for their expertise, I must do it.
And it's very vital what you've actually mentioned, the people that are given in your care, because
Yeah.
I look at, from the time I started talking to you, there's been a teacher at every stage that you refer to that actually had an impact in your life. So
Yes.
you get to see that teachers literally preserve the dreams of the young ones that they take
Precisely.
care of.
Precisely.
Yeah, which is very important.
Yeah.
This year's theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. How would you translate that into your work every other day, or generally even where we're going as women?
Say the theme again so that it sinks in.
Invest in women, accelerate progress.
Do you realize that the words you've just recited have existed in every statement I've made here? When you invest, you're a motivating factor to somebody. You are a moderator and a mentor to somebody. When you invest, you're not only investing, you're also accelerating their intrinsic vigor to do something. A woman who is supported, whether she's a wife or a single person, it shows.
Yeah.
Did you know that? It's just like a baby who is sucking from its mother. When a baby is satisfied, it will show, it will literally throw the nipple out of the mouth. So a woman who is supported, whether by the government entity, by the way, we are the government ourselves. I keep saying that. We must maximize and appreciate the investment given to us. And we must man up
Yes.
and come to the party.
Yes.
Not complain all the time. We should be equal to the tasks given to us. And by accelerating, the final statement is?
Accelerate progress.
Exactly. We are going to bring progress to the table. And then we'll be meaningful to our environment. So to all the women in leadership, ladies, I say again, we have the ability. Everything's been given in our hands. What's left for us is to motivate somebody, especially the little ones. For me, it starts from there.
Yes.
Yeah. Who is within our sphere of management? Are we motivating them? Are we giving them what they need? I have a very supportive manager where I'm working.
Yes.
Very supportive. And I have a lot of respect given around what I do by everybody around me. So we must begin to give back. When we progress, let's not forget that we have people we need to bring forward with us. Yeah.
And you know, you're talking about women, and I'm looking at everything that you've actually been able to do.
Yeah.
In that you're not just carrying yourself, you're carrying several others with you. And that's the thing with women.
Correct.
Women are naturers. It doesn't matter what you give them, they multiply it. And I think that is why it's very important for us to actually invest in them so that progress can be accelerated.
I agree.
Cecilia, when all is said and done, now we are reading your memoir.
Yeah.
Cecilia, what would you like to be remembered for? What would you like to be put on paper when it comes to your life?
During the course of my life and at the end of my life, when the time comes, I would love my repertoire to be remembered like this. That she was an emerging artist who made a lot of noise to ensure that every woman was supported. And that we were correcting the national anomalies of thinking that life cannot be contemporary. Our cultures must be documented. For a visual artist, we must document what we are doing, practice and invest and showcase. I hope to do a solo exhibition one time this year. Alliance Francaise will be hosting us next month for a mini exhibition that I'll do with other collaborated women. And I hope to be remembered through such documentation that we are cohorts of making sure art is everything.
And last but not least, Any plans for the community?
Yeah, I am a co-partner and director at a school we are calling Creative Vine Academy, and I'm academic director there, where I'm offering skills to the teachers and the staff there on making sure that we teach music, play, dance, craft, and art to the children. For us, it's a big thing. The creative art switches on the light for the academic part of the child, and together we'll have a very productive set of children who are coming up. Creative Vine Academy is the place to go in Ndola. Take your child there and they will appreciate the expressive arts that are being given in order to switch on the academic light.
Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope that when you do your solo exhibition, I get a VIP ticket to that event.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much and happy Women's Day to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm much obliged.
We have come to the end of our interview, and this is Cecilia, a mixed media visual artist who is joining us for this week's International Women's Day.